Ministry of Environment, Urbanization, and Climate Change aims to develop national marine and coastal management policies and strategies with the Integrated Marine Pollution Monitoring Program by monitoring the pollution and quality status of Black Sea, Mediterranean Sea, Aegean Sea, and Marmara Sea and Turkish Straits. The monitoring program is carried out in accordance with regional conventions, national legislations, and European Union directives. The monitoring program, conducted out by the Ministry of Environment, Urbanization, and Climate Change, has been carried out since 2014 in collaboration with universities and public institutions under the coordination of Tubitak Marmara Research Center, Marine and Coastal Research and Technologies Group. The 2020 to 2022 monitoring program was launched on May 28, 2020. Within the third 3 years monitoring program, the geographical scope of the marine monitoring was developed and the monitoring network was extended. Monitoring studies continue on the Black Sea coasts, ranging from Agniana to Hopa, with 7 transects up to 30 nautical miles offshore, and on the Mediterranean coast with 4 transects up to 12 nautical miles offshore. Marine monitoring studies are carried out in winter, spring, and summer seasons for Marmara Sea, while the other seas are being monitored in winter and summer seasons. The Marine Monitoring Program determines the physicochemical features, components, and indicators reflecting the ecological status, eutrophication and pollution status, and the radioactivity levels of the Turkish seas and coastal waters. Main oceanographic parameters such as salinity, density, pH, dissolved oxygen, fluorescence, and light transmittance can be measured in real time at high resolution using a rosette water sampler and a CTT device available in the research vessel. Critical depths for nutrient, dissolved oxygen, chlorophylla, phytoplankton, and zooplankton samplings are determined according to the water column's physical, optical, and fluorescent features at the time of sampling. Chlorophyll A and dissolved oxygen measurements of the samples taken from the seawater are performed immediately at the research vessel laboratories. Also, nutrient levels of the seawater are determined using the autoanalyzer available in the research vessel. In addition to the studies regarding phytoplankton, zooplankton, macrozoobenthos, macrophytobenthos, sea floor biodiversity, and commercial species, seagrass studies are also performed at 4 different pilot sites. Pollution levels of sediment and biota matrices are detected and temporal changes are investigated. Measurements are made to determine total organic carbon, polyaromatic hydrocarbon, polychlorinated biphenyl, organochlorine pesticide, and metal content of the samples taken. Results are assessed according to the environmental quality standards and food codexes. Phytoplankton quantifications and species identifications are performed in both Tubitak MRC, Marine Monitoring Laboratory, and the relevant laboratories of universities. Experts from various universities conduct macroflora, macrozoobenthos, and fish studies. Additional monitoring and observations are made at hotspot locations and ports to detect alien and invasive species in our seas. Besides, studies carried out to establish and expand novel monitoring systems such as coastal ecosystem and landscape monitoring, habitat monitoring, discharge area, and deep sea monitoring and satellite data monitoring. Methodological studies are performed for recording and assessment of floating litter and sea mammals during the research cruises in Black Sea. In our seas, microplastics are studied in seawater and sediment matrices. Pilot areas for microplastic monitoring studies are determined according to pollutant densities and pressure elements, and the studies are conducted in these pilot areas with high concentrations of microplastics. Collected microplastics are separated according to their types and color, quantified and measured. Macro litter monitoring studies are performed at pilot scale in selected beaches. Litter longer than 2.5 centimeters, found in a 100 meters long beach section, are collected and assessed in 8 different categories. Marine macro litter are also studied in parallel to the seafloor biodiversity studies conducted by trawling. As a part of the program, an automatic profiling buoy was established at the pilot scale and used to monitor oceanographic and hydrographic changes related with the water quality since 2018. Underwater noise monitoring system is established in 2021 to determine the effects of anthropogenic underwater noise. A GIS-based data model of the marine environment was designed within the scope of monitoring studies. This model was also integrated into the continuous monitoring center infrastructure. Studies on the use of satellites and new technologies for the detection of parameters such as surface temperature and chlorophyll, tracking of algal growth, and the formation of mucilage have been included in the monitoring program. Assessments are being made regarding the effects of climate change on our seas, and new monitoring components are being incorporated into the national monitoring program every year. Environmental status reports containing the results obtained from the Marine Monitoring Program are evaluated by the Ministry of Environment, Urbanization, and Climate Change Marine Monitoring Group. Reports are prepared according to the obligations of the regional conventions that Turkey is a part of. Marine monitoring data are managed by the Ministry's online monitoring data center. These data are transferred to the database, and the developed reports and mapping modules are shared with users from the institution, other institutions, and public. Reports are shared with national institutions that have duties and responsibilities in marine and coastal areas. Programs and strategies are developed for the next monitoring period. Regional workshops are organized to share the results obtained from the monitoring program with the institutions and organizations that are beneficiaries and stakeholders of each sea. It is aimed to discuss all aspects of the monitoring program results and pressures with the National Marine Monitoring and Assessment Symposium that is held every 3 years. Also, a proceedings book is prepared to disseminate the results obtained from the monitoring program.